You know, I don't even know why I bother to watch this team anymore. And I mean that in all the utmost sincerity, because I love this team. I have rooted for the Winnipeg Jets ever since they came back against that first game against Montreal way back when. I've been ride or die with this club ever since, and I don't even live in the city. I love this team. I bleed for this team. This team is my passion when it comes to the sport of hockey. I live and breathe Winnipeg Jets hockey, and I love this team, and I love this sport. And this game is everything I hate about the Winnipeg Jets, and it has been this way for a long time, and I am absolutely sick of it. Like, I don't even know where to start at this point. I could go through the first period, the second period, and the third period, and my anger on certain plays and everything would change so drastically, because this game was everything wrong with Jets hockey from the start. Actually, no, minus that. I'm not going to say it was from the start, because Nikolaj Ehlers, Stasny, and Dubois had an amazing start to this game. They were fantastic, and I'm going to get this out of the way early. I'm only going to say the positives right now, boys and Jet girls, because I am sick of this shit. Really am. Because how do you start a game that hot with the second line playing out of its mind, in my opinion? Me and Zach Nolan from the Nolan Hockey Podcast both were talking about this. We thought the second line was great at the start of this game. Was great. And then, basically, when the Thornton goal went in, that's when everything changed, in my opinion. Once that goal went in, the momentum was gone. Anything that the Jets had, in my opinion, that was gone. You know, the only other thing I would think might be good about this game is, in my opinion, the second period onwards, Connor Hellebuyck turned into a brick wall from the second and for the rest of the game after that Mitch Marner goal, in my opinion. He was really, really good. There's not much you can do there about any of that one. Like, you can't even do anything about that Marner goal. That was just horrible luck, and that's basically the definition of this game was that Marner. Like 1 out of 100 shots going in that exact spot is going to bounce out like that perfectly and become a goal. Like how do you even prepare for, that's not even on Hellebuyck. And I know it looked bad because it was 2 goals on 6 shots or whatever it was, 7 shots, similar to what it was almost in the last game we got pulled, but you can't do anything about that goal. And that's basically, other than those two things, Connor Hellebuyck being a brick wall for almost most of the game, in my opinion, and Nikolaj Ehlers and that second line being great to start the game, there was nothing positive about this game. And it was one of the most pathetic displays I've ever seen from this Jets team and from the coaching staff as well. Absolutely pathetic. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. You don't have to agree with me. This is my channel, and I share my opinions with the hope that you guys can interact down in the comment section and share your own opinions with me. This is a place for fans of hockey in general to come together and talk about games, especially related to the Winnipeg Jets. And if you're a Leaf fan watching this game, because I hope there are Leafs fans, I just want to get this out of the way right now. I don't think your team is a dirty team. I think your team is one of the most talented Leafs teams you've seen in years. That does not change my opinion and the fact that you're playing dirty against the Jets. And not all the time, but the last few games you have. And I'm not talking about the Wheeler hit. The Wheeler hit was seriously unlucky. When I first watched it, I thought it was a really bad hit. And I thought that Sundin left his feet. All these things, I was just raging because, honestly, the fan of me seeing Wheeler come back from a concussion and then get hit and be down that long, it was scary, and I was fuming because of that. So I'm going to get that right out of the way now. My opinion changed on that. Not a dirty hit, just a seriously unlucky one and a scary one for a guy coming back from a concussion. That's my opinion on that hit, and it's done. I don't think that was dirty anymore. I don't. My opinion has changed. Everything past that, though, holy shit. The Leafs are a much tougher team now. I'm not going to take that away from you, but there's a difference between being tough and being dirty. The Leafs do not need to play that dirty against the Jets team, in my opinion, at times. With the way they were hitting, when they chose to lay the hits, how they were, the head hunting. It's just, you are such a talented group of players if you are the Leafs. One of the best teams you've put on the ice in decades. And you need to play dirty against a Winnipeg team that can't even adapt their power play when it's unsuccessful? No, you don't. No, you don't. Don't give me that. Don't. If you're a Leafs fan and you're, and I also feel bad because I hate the Leafs because of how stupid their fan base is. And I don't say that lightly, because there are so many smart Leafs fans, guys like Steve Dangle who know the game, and that's just my prime example of what a good Leafs fan is. A guy like Steve Dangle. The Buds in the Box podcast group, that their channel. By the way, go check those guys out. I've watched them a lot recently. They're pretty good at their opinions, and they're pretty non-biased in my opinion at times. But the point is, when you have so many smart Leafs fans, their voices is drawn out in a sea of stupidity from people that know nothing about the game of hockey. And it infuriates me, because the Leafs fan base should be one of the most respected and cool fan bases in the league because of the fact that they've been one of the oldest teams. They're like Canada's darling, all this stuff, the Toronto connection, how Toronto is already viewed in the media, blah, 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 whatever. But when you have that many stupid idiots saying that, oh, the Leafs aren't dirty, the Jets are made of glass, it's like come on, you're actually going to tell me a dirty check to the head is clean, is nothing wrong with that the Jets are soft and we're bad fans? fans, learn the game of hockey. It just infuriates me because if the Jets lost this game 10-0 and there wasn't a single, or even this series, they lost horribly every game, I honestly wouldn't even be as mad as I am right now if it wasn't for the fact that Leafs fans are defending a team and defending plays that were horrible. That could have been life-threatening. And now you might be thinking I'm over-exaggerating. Any check to the head can be life-threatening. There's a reason why when people fall and hit their head on the sidewalk a certain way, they can die instantly. Anything can happen, even if you're wearing a helmet. Head checks are dangerous, and they got no place in sports, especially when you're doing it intentionally. I'm getting that now. That's my part of the hitting part of this rant done. So that's just my opinions on it. I'm done with that stuff. I don't want to spend all video talking about this because I could, but you're a good, talented hockey team, and you don't need to play dirty because the Jets are just incompetent. You can beat the Jets with your skill cleanly night in and night out because it showed in this game. Paul Maurice is an idiot, an absolute idiot. If you disagree with me at this point and you're still a Paul Maurice defender, you are a horrible fan for hockey. And I'm sorry to say that, and I hate calling people out, but if you would rather watch this team bathe in mediocrity under Paul Maurice's reign than see it thrive, then why do you even watch the Jets? Why do you even root for the Jets? Do you just enjoy mediocrity? Because the Jets have so much talent on this roster, and how badly mismanaged they are, how useless they look at times. It's pathetic. Pathetic. My freaking Pee-wee hockey coach, my ball hockey coach, hell, my intramural high school hockey coach could probably put out a better, more competent power play in top six than what Paul Maurice does. I've said this in so many game recaps, and I'll say it again. Paul Maurice is the definition of insanity, expecting different results from night in and night out by just throwing up the same shit onto the ice every night. How many times do we need to say as a fan group that Connor, Scheifele, and Wheeler don't work anymore? And how many times are you going to actually try to defend that line when you watch them play? They bring nothing. They can't gain the zone entry, and when they do, they're just bringing it into the boards. How many times did Scheifele go down behind the net and curl back up and come up, be double-teamed, and then lose the puck tonight? How many times has he done that in every game this season when they're together? I can't even keep count at this point. There's so many things the Jets do wrong night in and night out that I say in every video, that every Jets fan on every social media platform says. And when you let me say this to the people who say we're armchair GMs, we don't know anything about the game of hockey, we just stay at home and we watch the games. Let me ask you this: when you have every single fan on almost every single platform unanimously agreeing on the same type of decisions, do you think it's armchair GMing, or do you think it's the fact that a bunch of hockey minds collectively are sharing an opinion that actually makes sense for the progressiveness of this team and progressing past mediocrity? Because that's what the Jets are. The Jets have Connor Hellebuyck, who carries them in a lot of games, who gets them a lot of lucky wins, especially at the start of the season, who is a fantastic goaltender. And the Jets have fantastic players. I'm not saying that Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Blake Wheeler are bad, but they're bad together. And when you have so much talent and so many different possibilities to match up every night against different opponents, and yet you refuse to adapt, you refuse to change your lineup, then why do you even have a job at the NHL level? The whole point of being a professional coach is being able to adapt and be smart and be able to be witty and be able to adapt to the game as it progresses. And what does Paul Maurice do? He sees his entire defense playing shit, Pullman being horrible all game long, another guy who I've been talking about immensely lately, being really bad and playing on a top pairing. How many more guys are the Jets going to bring in that are replaceable level defensemen or replaceable level forwards and have them play and never show a prospect? How many Nick Petans, Sammy Nikus, Marco Danos, how many of these guys are we going to have to go through? Look at Cole Perfetti for an example. Cole Perfetti is having an amazing season with the Moose in a league where he's not even should be allowed to play in. And yet, I guarantee you, even if the Jets won't even give him a look next year, because Paul Maurice is going to go out, tell Chevy to sign some depth replaceable, unrestricted free agent, like a Nick Thompson, like a Trevor Lewis, and don't get me wrong, they've been good, but nonetheless, would you rather have Trevor Lewis on your team or a young budding Cole Perfetti and see how that works for you? Let me honestly think about that and pause the video and ask yourself, what would you rather have right now? Because I can tell you one thing, I would much rather see Cole Perfetti coming into this lineup sooner than later. I'd much rather see Ville Heinola being called up again, and because he was sent down to the Moose. What happened to Paul Maurice saying he's going to rotate his defensive pairings and figure out a way what's best for the playoffs? He literally said that a week ago, and Ville Heinola is already back on the Moose because he's not going to be getting a chance the next coming weeks to play with the Jets. You know that's a fact. How much longer until Connor Hellebuyck wants out because the Jets refuse to adapt and change their defense? I said this when the trade went down for Jamie Benn. How many times are the Jets going to bring in defensemen that are worth a 6th-round pick? Or hell, even Ben shouldn't even be worth a 6 with the way he's played lately. But the point being, how many times are the Jets going to have these depth guys who are serviceable depth defensemen, like a Nathan Beaulieu, and then turn him into absolute dog shit by playing him on a top pairing he has no right to be on? How many guys are we going to see go through like that? How many Mark Stewarts? How many Nathan Beaulieus? How many Jordy Benns? How many Tucker Pullmans? When does it end? Joe Morrow being put in over Toby Enstrom. When does it end? It never will, and it hasn't for years now. I don't understand how you could defend this team any longer. I defend the coaching. It's mediocrity, and this isn't an overreaction to a game where the Jets lost. Don't give me that. Don't give me any excuses for the Jets in this game, because there is none. Absolutely none. To go out and score and lead in the top, like you did in the first period and dominate about the first 5 minutes, and then go into the rest of the game and allow 4 unanswered? 4. And not put up any fight. Not to mention the fact that they didn't fight. Am I the only one who, maybe this is the old, my dad and the voice of an older generation coming through me right now from years of watching hockey with family, but am I the only one that was screaming for a fight all game long? Why would you put Logan Stanley back in and not have him off the leash to go after somebody? Joe Thornton was going off all game long with Ehlers, and they didn't drop the gloves. Ehlers been proven to drop the gloves. What? He's not going to do it now because we're close to the playoffs? You're losing 4-1. Swing the momentum. Wheeler gets hit. Connor tries to go in, and the refs immediately break it up. Like, what the hell is this? You need the fighting in hockey in games like this. And I'm not talking about breaking a guy's jaw and breaking hands, but, like, if you're going to play a guy like Thompson and Lewis on your 4th line for grit and defense and, veteran presence, what do veterans do in hockey? What do guys like that do? They fight. They fight because that's what you do in hockey when your team is down and being beaten to shit by every player for the last 2 or 3 games. It doesn't make any sense to me. This team is just stuck in denial, and the coaching staff is stuck in denial. Paul Maurice has potentially a game-changing defenseman in Ville Heinola just sitting there. And if you think, oh, Ville Heinola ain't ready, fucking look at Paul Maurice's usage of him. And then look in the last game, and then look at his usage and how he played against Ottawa in his first game with the Jets. Tell me that wasn't Josh Morrissey's best game of the season, playing with Ville Heinola. And that's not even off his offside. That's not even the way the pairing should have been set up, in my opinion, but it worked. Why? Because Ville Heinola brings something to this team that it lacks. Skill on the back end. Competency. Something that none of these guys seem to have. Tucker Pullman will either play great defense or be an absolute pylon. And let me ask you this. If you're Paul Maurice, you're like, well, it's a flip of the coin, but I'll have my luck tested, right? Like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? You think that's the way to manage a team trying to win? The Jets are in a win-now mode. They've constantly said that. And let me honestly say this to you Jets fans. Let's see if it makes your skin crawl, because it makes mine. If the Jets lose in the first round again this year, that's 3 years in a row where they've lost in the first round. St. Louis, Calgary, and then whoever their potential first-round matchup will be this year. If that happens, how much do you want to bet that Kevin Cheveldayoff would be fired for failing to address the blue line this year at the trade deadline or prior before Paul Maurice is? And then they bring in some clown to be the GM who's maybe decent at scouting for picks, who doesn't really have a backbone to stand up for Paul Maurice, and they put all their trust in him because Paul Maurice has all the power. You can't say that he doesn't, because he does. Paul Maurice has all the power in this team and in this organization, because Cheveldayoff makes it clear. I'd like to see Ville Heinola. Ville Heinola gets 11 minutes on the 3rd pairing or whatever it was, barely sees any important, meaningful ice time and makes any meaningful impact. Paul Maurice, well, there's his game. He didn't change the lineup like you all said he would. Time to put him back in the press box and throw in Jamie Benn and Logan Stanley again, because that's what we need. Grit and size. That's what wins in the NHL. That's what wins against a speedy, fast team. Like, what? That doesn't make sense anymore. Like, it's so obvious that Maurice is the problem with this team, and you can't say it's not. The coaching staff is just stupid. Like, they're the definition of stupidity, insanity, whatever you want to call them. They should not have jobs in the National Hockey League anymore. Paul Maurice has brought nothing but mediocrity to so many clubs that he's coached. He's never had success when he's been with this team for how many years now, and their best run was making it out of the first round once in 10 years. 10 years, and we've only made the playoffs, what, fucking 4 times now? In 10 years? And, like, oh, come on, don't give me that. Don't give me that Paul Maurice is the right direction for this team anymore, because it's clear. How many times have you seen in the NHL a team be stale with a ton of talent because their coach has been with them for far too long? And what do? They fire the coach, and then what happens? They go on a run. They play great hockey, because that's usually what happens in the NHL. When a coach gets stale, you need to fire him and change it up. A coach is dispensable. He's not the heart of your team. Why the Jets have made Paul Maurice the heart of this organization baffles me. He has nothing to his name, and he's been with this team for how long? This literally makes absolutely no sense in my opinion. None. Because it's not like Paul Maurice has kept the Jets in good competition for the last couple of years. Because let's be real, ever since that run to the Western Conference Final, the Jets have gotten significantly worse every season. Their power play dropped off, and only when they traded a generational goal scorer in Patrick Laine did it start to spurse up again, because they were like, wow, we don't have to feed it to Laine anymore. He's not our only option. Newsflash, he was never your only option. You have so many weapons, and yet you made him your only option on the power play. It became stale, and then you had to trade him to finally get the other guys involved. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm sorry to be mean, but it's true. Like, adapt, change. The modern day NHL is about having the creativity and the ability to adapt your lineup to the suitable opponent night in and night out. And the Jets refuse to do that anytime they play a team that is better than them in the standings. And thank God that this year, that it's just the Leafs that are really the only team that is better. Actually, no, scratch that. The Oilers are better than them too, even though they're below them in the standings. But they had a rougher year, and they don't have as good as a roster and good of a goaltender to steal them wins at times. There's nothing that points to the Jets being competitive this year, in my opinion. None, with how they've played at times. Just like they were against Calgary last season, and just like this season. Just because they have hot stretches, they have got good games, and they've had good player performances, doesn't mean they're a good team. It doesn't, because they're not. Look at what they throw out night in and night out, and you're going to tell me that this is a cup contending team? Because it's not, and this isn't just me overreacting to a bad series against the Leafs. It is not. It is not. The Jets currently right now, I hope this is the right standings, are 27-17-3. The Leafs are 30-13-5. Now you might be thinking, oh, it's a similar record. Yeah, it is. But the thing is, they're only in Canada, those numbers. How much do you want to bet if the Jets had to play teams like Vegas, like Carolina, Florida this year, Boston, any team with some competency and some good playing skills down in the States? There's so many teams this year down there in the American divisions. You know what I mean when I say that. Point being, that would have killed the Jets this year in their season series. Killed them. And then that's their competition in the playoffs. You're going to look me in the eye and say, if somehow the Jets can pull off a miracle and get through Toronto and get through whoever they play in the first round or whatever it is, and get out of the North, that they're going to be able to beat the Avalanche, the Knights, hell, even if they made it to the finals somehow, you're going to tell me they're going to beat any of the teams in the East that have been on fire this year? Look at Carolina and Florida. That is that is what Winnipeg could be with the type of skill they have. Their roster is quite similarly built offensively to these successful teams. And then look at the way they play night in and night out. They use their speed. They use the ability to move the puck dynamically to their strength, like what we have in Ehlers. Why is Ehlers the only guy that can use the puck and move it in a dynamic way that can generate offense? Because Paul Maurice throws out garbage that's stale. Blake Wheeler is better suited for a third-line matchup at this point, because that's just what it is with his age and the way his speed is and the way he drives the play. And I'm not saying Blake Wheeler is bad, but I'm saying, can you imagine how good Blake Wheeler would be and how much he would dominate against some teams' third lines? Fuck, Mason Appleton's a great finisher. You imagine how many goals that third line could have with a passer like Blake Wheeler playing with those type of guys? Hell, Adam Lowry's a great play-driving center at times, too. He drives pretty well, maybe doesn't crash the net as often, but there's just so many different possibilities and matchups that make so much potential sense for the Jets moving forward, yet we never see them. And why? Because Paul Maurice thinks that, oh, what I have is good, we're just not winning, we're not in a good mood. And you know what's funny? I'm at 18 minutes into this video, and I haven't even talked about Mark Scheifele being benched. Because Mark Scheifele being benched, finally, yay, it happened. He's been horrible for a long time defensively, and that play on that 4-on-1 or whatever it was showed. But yet, he benches one of his better offensive weapons in a game where they're losing, instead of benching a guy like Pullman. And I know you don't want to leave your defense shorthanded, but let me ask you this. Do you think if Pullman wasn't playing, it would make a difference at that point? No! Derek Forbort sucks. Pullman sucks. Logan Stanley, I hate to say it, sucks now. He had a good 12-game run, but now he's trash again. And he's showing his defensive side. And he just shoots the puck into the crowd and the defense. Like, they're like, oh, we jump into the rush. You shoot the puck into 5 guys, and that's the defense jumping into the rush? Fuck out of here with that. No way does that make any sense. This is pathetic on every level. I'm done with this. I am sick of this. The Leafs are immensely better than what the Jets put out any night. Fuck, I would rather see if the Leafs were able to promote their bottom 6 to their top 6, and maybe they just kept Marner or someone like that, and they brought up the rest of the Marlies. I still think they would beat the Jets. I have no face. Let me just. I think the Moose currently have a better defensive structure and a better defensive system than what the Jets have. And why is that? They're playing guys that are dynamic, that are modern-day NHLers with a lot of upside. Sandberg, Heinola, even Declan Chisholm, who was a 5th-round, 6th-round pick that we got for Drew Stafford. And you don't use any of these guys. Maybe not Chisholm because he's young, but I get that. But the point is that how do you not try anything? You try new lines. Do anything to make this team better. Night in and night out. It's the same garbage. Just because we win some games against lackluster opponents like the Canucks, like the Senators at times, and like the Habs when they've been struggling, and even when we've played against Calgary as well. You know, Calgary at times has had our numbers, but they've also haven't been the best team this year, especially from the way they were at the start of the season to where they are now. The Jets have played weak opponents, and that's why they're 27 wins in. Or whatever their current standing is, if that's wrong, excuse me if it is. Point being, the Leafs are the #1 team in Canada, without question. The Jets are just a secondary option, maybe even a third option, because I would go as far to say that the way the Oilers have been playing lately, I think they're a better team than the way the Jets have been playing. And I don't think that the Jets are going to beat any of those teams in the playoffs. None. And I wouldn't be surprised if I honestly, and I hate to say this as a Jets fan, I mean, because it hurts to say this stuff. It really does. Don't think I'm some pessimistic person who loves this stuff, because it kills me to trash talk my team this much, because they're so bad and so mismanaged. It's sad at this point. If you think that the Jets could get swept, is what I'm trying to say. I think that the Jets easily could get swept in a situation where they could be swept with the way they play at times. Just because the offense is good doesn't mean that the defense is, and their overall play. Look at Mark Scheifele this game. He got benched. Do you really think Mark Scheifele's defense is going to get any better? Because let me give you a newsflash, ladies and gentlemen. His defense has been absolute trash, even when we went to the Western Conference Final. He is not a defensive player. He's not a two-way center. He's an offensive weapon. There's a reason why Scheifele's so good at scoring and generating points, because he's great offensively. Defensively, he's a ghost. He has been for a long time. Defensive zone, neutral zone. You never see Scheifele unless he's got the puck and he's got a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 where he's got a mismatch somehow. The Jets need to be better, and their coaching staff needs to be held accountable for this garbage. If Paul Maurice comes out and blames any players on this and says, oh, our players just didn't show up, no, you didn't give them the ability to show up. You sent them out unprepared and unmatched against a team that is significantly better than them in all ways. I don't care if the Leafs may play dirty against these Jets this series. It doesn't matter to me, because in my opinion, the Jets were outmatched before this even started, and I had hope. But once that first game went down, once I saw how the Jets were playing, hell, even the Hellebuyck stuff doesn't matter. The Jets are mediocre. They are. The Jets are a mediocre team propelled by amazing goaltending and a really well-equipped forward core, but that is misused. This is pathetic, it's sad, it's depressing, and I hope to God that something happens to change this. Because if this is what this Jets core and this Jets, goes into the future as, and this is what we're remembered as, that is one of the biggest letdowns in NHL history with this core. It really is. It really is, and it's sad. It's sad to think from 3 years ago we were in the Western Conference Final, and that small little changes that could have been made to help keep us at that type of competency level, yet nothing is done, because Paul Maurice is like, oh, 3 years ago this worked, it'll work now, right? Let me give you a newsflash, Paul. It's not the way hockey works, not the way sports works. Learn to adapt, or you'll fail consistently and every single time. God, that was a long one. I don't think I've ever yelled and ranted this much into a microphone before, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you've stayed with me this long at this point into the video, I appreciate it, and I'm very grateful for you sharing and listening to my opinion. So with all that being said, thank you for watching. Peace, love, and positivity as always. Subscribe if you're a Jets fan, but more importantly, consider subscribing if you're a fan of hockey, regardless of the team you root for, because I love this sport. I love the Jets, and I love a lot of other teams too, so I hope that you guys can join this journey with me on YouTube and help support this channel as it continues to grow. Like I said, peace, love, and positivity. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope to God something changes going into these next couple of games, because we're playing the Oilers next, and who the hell knows how that's going to go. Let's see how it goes. New videos coming out every other day, or every other day, or every day in order. I don't know when they come out, whenever I have time to make them. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, and positivity. I'll be live streaming on Monday, so stay tuned for that. Notifications on if you haven't already. Follow my socials, all that jazz, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Hope to God something changes. Because if they don't, I don't think I'll be saying go Jets go a lot very often at the end of these videos.